This is Tomonews for Wednesday, January 25th.
What the July 5th referendum means for the future of Greece. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras has called for a public referendum to take place on July 5th to decide whether the country should accept what Tsipras describes as strict and humiliating austerity. Won't be making a €1.6 billion payment to the International Monetary Fund on June 30th, but its creditors will likely grant an extension to allow for the July 5th vote. Greece would then have another €3.5 billion due to the European Central Bank on July 20th. Provide €15.5 billion in austerity to Greece so that they might avoid default through November. The agreement includes requirements for Greece to raise taxes and cut pensions. A no vote to the conditions proposed by Greece's creditors could lead to Greece's exit from the Eurozone. They can replace the euro. However, euros could temporarily be used for small cash transactions. A poll conducted by Elko for the Protothema paper found 57% of Greeks are in favor of accepting the austerity, and 29% are against. A Kappa research poll for Tovima newspaper found 47% were in favor and 33% were against. President of the European Commission Jean-Claude Juncker said you should say yes regardless of what the question is. Answering a no vote, however, will mean that Greece is saying no to Europe.
Old dude playing Pokemon Go shot dead by security guard. An elderly man who was shot dead by a security guard in Virginia last week was playing Pokemon Go. An attorney for the family of Jiang Shen Chen said the 60-year-old played the game to keep up with his kids and grandkids. Chen was parked up at a Pokemon gym just half a mile from his home in Chesapeake last Thursday when he was confronted by a private security guard. According to the family's attorney, Chen spoke very little English, which may have caused the altercation to escalate. The witness said she heard 5 gunshots ring out. Soon after, Chen was pronounced dead at the scene. It remains unclear why the security guard shot Chen, and no charges have yet been filed. What's also unclear is why the security guard was armed in the first place. A spokesman for the area's community association said that for the past 7 years it had hired a company to provide unarmed security guards. The police investigation is continuing.
Dog tied up in freezing cold gnaws off own paw to escape. Take a look at this disturbing video taken from closed-circuit security footage outside of a Walmart in the Detroit suburb of Roseville on Sunday. Police are working to find the 2 men who, in frigid temperatures, tied up and abandoned this 2-year-old mixed-breed puppy, nicknamed Courtney by her rescuers. The men were captured on a store camera leaving the store and driving off in a vehicle believed to be a Chrysler. Left for hours in the freezing temperatures, the poor pup chewed off her own paw in a desperate attempt to escape. An employee spotted the dog and called for help. Turns out the very cord that had wrapped around Courtney's paw is the one thing that saved her life. The cord served as a tourniquet and kept her from bleeding to death. Doctors discovered a lump in Courtney's stomach and were horrified to discover it was her missing paw. Courtney's leg was amputated, but she remains in good spirits and is recovering with rescuers until they find a suitable forever home.
Man dies after sticking his head out of a moving train. A man in London was killed after he stuck his head out of a moving train and was struck by another train. The passenger was on an express train en route to Victoria Station from Gatwick around 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. Authorities believe the man may have been leaning his head out of a train door window when he suffered a blow to the head. The man died instantly after sustaining serious head injuries near the Wandsworth Common Station. An inspector from the British Transport Police denied initial reports that the man was decapitated. Officials said the victim was in his 20s and they're trying to confirm his identity and contact his next of kin.
Stabbing of Staten Island boy may have been an ISIS audition. Investigators believe the stabbing of a 9-year-old Staten Island boy in January this year may have been an ISIS supporter's audition to join the terror group. Jermaine Culver was stabbed by a man while walking to school in the Mariners Harbor section of Staten Island on the morning of January 9th this year. Almost a year later, investigators believe the assailant was Farid Mumuni, arrested in June for attempting to provide material support to the Islamic State. Court documents say Mumuni espouses violent jihadist beliefs. During his arrest, he allegedly tried to stab an FBI agent while they were searching his house. Mumuni allegedly told authorities that if he failed to join Islamic State, he planned to attack law enforcement. The New York Post reported that police believe that if Mumuni is Culver's attacker, the stabbing could have been an attempt to impress ISIS. Culver recovered from his injuries and has left Staten Island to live with his aunt in Atlanta, Georgia.
Manhattan dog walker sued for trading pup for drugs. A New York City fashionista is suing her long-term pet sitter after learning the man may have sold her dog for drugs while she was out of the country. Back in February, Morgan Bogle traveled to London for a business trip and left her 4-year-old pit bull Mick Sugar in the care of her long-term dog walker, Tommy Doerr. Bogle became panicked when she received a call from neighbors that her dog walker had had a meltdown. According to reports, Doerr ended up in a mental hospital, but not before being busted with PCP by NYPD cops. Sugar, however, was nowhere to be found. For weeks and weeks, volunteers gathered to search for Sugar, but to no avail. Bogle, who adopted Sugar 3 years ago, offered up a reward for her safe return. The hashtag FindSugarNYC shows hundreds of posts for the pup. Bogle, who believes Doerr traded Sugar for drugs, has sued the former pet sitter for $10,000, or the safe return of her dog. Sugar is a tan brindle pit mix with a lean build, weighing around 60 pounds with white markings on her forehead, chest, and her paws. The NYPD says no arrests have been made regarding the case.
Virginia TV shooting suspect commits suicide. The man alleged to have shot and killed 2 journalists during a live broadcast in Southwest Virginia died Wednesday afternoon at a hospital from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Vesta Lee Flanagan sent ABC News a 23-page fax 2 hours after he is alleged to have shot 2 TV journalists on air. He claimed his attack was triggered by the June 17 mass shooting at a black church in Charleston, South Carolina. Police located Flanagan's car, a 2009 Mustang, at Roanoke Regional Airport at 11 a.m. Flanagan fled the airport in another car he'd rented earlier this month. A Virginia State Police trooper using a license plate reader spotted Flanagan's car at about 11:20 a.m. He called for backup and tried to make a traffic stop. Flanagan refused to stop and sped away before running off the road and striking an embankment. Officers approached the car and found Flanagan had suffered a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Flanagan had told ABC News that he had suffered racial discrimination, sexual harassment, and bullying at work.
Man kills bear in kitchen after family dog saves the day. First family has a new hero after their little dog Sid saved the family from becoming a midnight snack for a hungry grizzly bear. Family was sleeping on Sunday night when Sid started barking like crazy at around 4:30 a.m. So Nikki Travers got up to see what it was. She screamed and ran back in the room and told her husband Mark they had a bear in the house. With his 13-year-old son also sleeping in the house, Travers got his rifle out and loaded it. The bear was eating cat food from a cupboard when Travers entered the kitchen and turned on the light. The bear then moved towards Mark. I shot at it, and it took another step towards me. So I shot it again, and it hit the floor. And so I shot it one more time, and then it stopped moving, Travers said. As for Sid, he's getting a special dinner. He'll definitely be eating with the family tonight, Travers said.